on.
Hey, good.
Good to see you. I'm gonna
Hey.
just go for the hug. I'm gonna do it.
You're a
Let's
hugger.
do it.
I'm not
I'm
much
a
of a
hugger. Okay, Greg.
Yeah.
What are we having to drink?
Let's see. I'm pretty basic. I'm going to go with a sparkling water with a splash of vodka.
I have to ask, why psychology and journalism?
Wow, you did your homework. You know that I started with psychology and then moved to journalism.
Yeah.
I just felt like I love the science of psychology, but I didn't like the rigor of it, to be honest with you. And I wanted to do something that was more expressive and creative. So we didn't have an advertising school where I went to school at Ohio State. So the closest I could get was journalism. And I quickly found out that that was a little bit too regimented for me.
Was there a ambition? I feel like many creatives I meet in the early parts of their career, they sort of keep looking up to these ECDs and aspire to one day be able to really propagate their voice and their perspective in that way. Was that a track in your mind, or it was just like, I just want to do great work?
100% the latter. Yeah, I was never a career planner. I never really aspired to here's how to get ahead in advertising. I just wanted to write, and I still love that. Like, I just wanted to be a creative, but in this industry, you can't do that for your whole career. But what I found was, like, if you're really good at what you're doing now and you really enjoy it, people will notice that and they'll want you to expand, but you do it at your own pace. All your work should be, a little bit more personal about you. It's about what you're expressing, how you can show your thinking, and to move ahead, you have to do great work that your name is attached to. Once you start leading, it's all about your people and making sure they're doing great work. And now, that I have my own agency, it's about the entire agency, make sure everybody is at a place where they feel they can do the best work of their lives.
When you think about how your voice evolved through those years at BBDO, was that experiences, projects? Was it New York, all of the above?
It's funny you say that, because I'm not sure it has evolved.
Really? You think it's just been consistent?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at my early work and through there, I think it's, the stage has gotten bigger, and the projects have gotten more intense, but I try to keep everything just human and personal.
When has that been hard to defend the voice over time?
Depends on, I think people come to our agency for a voice, for a personality, for not say it's mine, but for a human. It they have to feel something. So, I probably wouldn't work in a corporate, agency structure where people are coming for a certain kind of work, but the kind of work we like to do, it really encourages individuality. And that's what I thrive to.
Yeah. When you look back to your last couple months at BBDO, what were you looking at and you were very proud of during that period?
I do think we took it to a place that was, what David's vision was, which was a kick-ass modern day version of a 1960s New York ad agency, right? So it has this big scale, the energy, and it was doing work that felt like it was fun and smart and right for the client. So it's good, but I will say, like, the last part of 2019 and going into 2020, I think advertising was reaching a very hard, unfun point. I think there's so much stress, so much pressure, and the system, to me, I could feel it, like something needed to shift. And then COVID came along, and then we all had no choice. Where was
the pressure coming from?
I think people are just afraid, like, there was this feeling like you say one wrong thing in a meeting and a client will walk away. Like, people are just this ambient fear that just clients would walk away. You can't afford to lose anybody. You can't, I think everybody's playing defense. So did
that limit your ability to take risks?
I think it limited the industry's ability to take risks. And BBDO did what we could, but it managed to do some good work. But still, it was pervasive. It took rounds and rounds and rounds to get people. And we had great clients. I just noticed throughout the industry they were kind of rewarding the only kind of work that was breaking through were like pro bono and cause related. If you remember all that, right? And it felt like work for normal clients, everyday work wasn't where creatives were shining. And I thought that was not right for our industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you would be an entrepreneur, breaking out on your own, starting an agency?
No, man. I always had
you and your you and your CD going out.
You know, I do think every creative somewhere has their vision of that.
Yeah.
And probably like me has no idea how to do that.
Yeah.
And so like when this opportunity came up, you know, with my founders, Dave LaFond and Serge Rancourt, who I started Mischief with, those guys were brilliant business people. They worked in all the holding companies, been at the top, and they opened up an agency in Canada 2 years before this. And I just talked to them like, what do you guys got going on there? Because you seem to be doing very well in the time when agencies were firing people, big layoffs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I reached out to them and we just started talking. I had no intentions at all of starting a relationship with two strangers, you know, like an agency or two strangers I had never met. But the more we talked, they're like, have you ever thought of opening an agency? And I was like, yeah, I have this sort of Willy Wonka version of an agency that I would love to run. I have no idea how to run a business. I don't talk to me about, you know, like P&L and HR and all that stuff. Like, I don't know how to do that. And they were like, their pitch was, you know, what if you got someone to do all that, the stuff you didn't want to do, you focus on the creative and built like the most ideal creative shop you can. They likened it to like a 4-star Michelin restaurant where they hire a chef, I guess that'd be me, to create the vibe and the vision and the menu, and then someone else took care of all the backroom stuff.
There's so much change right now for copywriters specifically on the strategy side with all these new tools.
Yeah.
Are you even more encouraged because of how important it is to get to nuance, or are you worried because of how all this stuff is being scaled and how businesses are reacting to it?
A little bit of both. I mean, I've always said just because it's easier to create something doesn't make it easier to create something good. So there's a lot of that out there.
Yeah.
I think people are taking shortcuts in the wrong ways.
What's an example of that?
Well, using it to write something or to do the creative part of it in, you know, just like ChatGPT or whatever the LLM people are using, you know, using it as a form of like human thinking. What we use AI specifically for is, it's kind of like, we call it a time machine, where it can crunch the beginning of the process, like pull together all the research, find out things, you know, that are out, have been done before, find out all the learnings, do get to knows really quick, and even do some, you know, some testing or whatever, if that's the case. And then at the end of the process, it's good for visualizations, you know, testing out, you know, comps and things like that. You know, you don't spend your days kind of trying to Photoshop things. You can get to that phase pretty quickly. The middle part between the inputs and the outputs, you know, the thinking that comes up with the ideas, and what we call the messy middle of the intuition and the gut feeling and the taste, that's where you need to spend the time. And I think if people use AI for that part of it, it's going to come out generic, because AI is trained on things that have been done before and logical. And what we look for is the illogical and the things that have never been done before.
The advertising industry has obviously gone through so many changes over the course of the last 25, 30 years. Are you hopeful for what's next?
I am. I think we're at such a weird pivotal point now with technology changing. And I think that happens every few years and people think like it's going to change everything. I think what has not changed is human behavior and the need for people who understand that. And also like the problems are still the same. People have just come up with different solutions at this point. So I like solving problems, and we can use those tools to solve them, but it will never replace humanity. You know, the need for an insight and the difference between crunching data and coming up with an insight is still huge. You know, there's a big gap there.
Is that the most pressing challenge for a creative today, finding originality?
That's always been the challenge. I think it probably is harder now because everything's out there and there's more creators, you know, visible creators at least, and more ways for them to express. So, you know, your competition as an advertiser is everything on the internet, you know, everything in pop culture. And with everyone being the creator, then of course, like there's more out there to cut through.
There is a 20-year-old at Ohio State right now studying a mixture of psychology and journalism, dying to get into advertising. Just they see what's happening in New York and LA, and it's really inspiring them. It's a different era, it's a different time. What's your advice?
Well, they were walking into an industry that had something that I didn't when we walked in, which is like really good post-grad portfolio schools, which are specifically designed to get you a job in advertising. That may have been getting started when I was graduating, but I didn't know about it. So I had to build up my portfolio just with scraps of paper and Xeroxing at Kinko's. And most people don't even know what those two names mean anymore. But it was very hand done. Now you go to schools and you come out with finished portfolios, and these kids coming out of there are pretty well prepared. They've learned strategy, they've learned execution, and they've learned how to solve problems. So I do think in order to compete, you probably have to go to one of those. But above and beyond that, let's say you're graduated or you have a book and you're trying to break into advertising. It's very competitive right now, but the one thing people can't compete at is being you. So find you and what makes you different and what makes you unique, and embrace the shit out of that and make it shine through, right? Just what makes you different and what makes you you. And I think if you can find a way to make that breakthrough to the people you want seeing the work, that'll set you apart.
Cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
That was incredible.
I hope you got what you needed.